There is an ancient proverb.
The pupil is ready, the master will appear. It will take dedication, it will take time.
This is Desiree Duvernay welcoming you to Nelson Medicine. Here's a little bit of instruction about our Body Fat Health Index to be able to measure the type of health. Now, using the SCIO, EPFX, QUEX, Eductor, QXCI, we can make an accurate dual frequency measure of the impedance and get an indication of the fat. This really helps us to understand the health and how fat can hurt them. And with the body mass index, we can evaluate the weight and the height. But we're going to find out that, you see, height and weight doesn't really tell us exactly what's going on. There's many different types of body types. So height and weight is not good enough. But here what we see is the type of body fat percentage, and it is a risk of health as you put on more and more fat. But we need to make other measures than just BMI, as well as the impedance. So once we start to understand the healthy levels of the body fat percentage, we want to be able to make an accurate measure. Our impedance will give us values. The body mass index will give us values. We will start to understand that just by looking at people, we start to get an estimate of an idea of how much fat there is in a person. And the more fat, it will impinge on their health, impinge on cardiovascular problems, liver, many other functions. So what we want to do is to broaden this. And we want to be able to have our patients we're going to measure the waist circumference, measure the height, and now we're going to do a caliper measure, be able to say pinch an inch, to find out more about the amount of fat around the waist, the thigh, and the tricep. We will pump these values into our SCIO, our system, here, and here's in inches, you see, height, weight, waist circumference, thigh, fat thickness, abdomen, triceps. Or you could click the button and turn it into metric for European standards, and then be able to put it into centimeters, kilograms. And we'll be able to then make a calculation. This will help us to calculate waist to hip ratio, but the most important value is that of waist to thigh. This ratio gives us the best indicator. We also have to understand that sometimes there are people who are emaciated. They actually have very little body fat. So it's not just on the plus side, it can be on the minus side too, where we can start to find out emaciation. But can you pinch an inch? In an ideal world, you should just be able to pinch skin, not even really an inch. We use the calipers. Now here, this caliper is set at just about an inch. You have to understand skin thickness comes in. Here we have 3.5 inches, 9 centimeters, okay? But you don't have to have calipers. You can use your fingers and get a good estimate, and this will help us. Here's approximately a 2-inch section. And then we start to understand that here, when we can pinch an inch, that yes, we're starting to get too much weight. And you can see that weight in the front of the person here, creating a problem for their health and their beauty. Here we have a good 3 inches, okay, not just pinching an inch. And this will help to tell us what we need to know. We have to kind of subtract the skin thickness and recognize how much fat there is. That's where we're making an estimate. Here we have 2 to 3 inches. And in this situation, we have a good 4, 5, or 6 inches, depending on how you hold that. We're going to be able to put this into our system and be able to make this work better for us. We also would be measuring the triceps, underneath the triceps. And you could use calipers or use your fingers using the triceps. I like to do it with the arm out to the front, not to the side. I think we get the best indicator. But here we get a very good indicator of the amount of fat in the tricep. And a good inch here can be healthy, but when we start to get to 2 or 3 inches, it's a problem. We also will be able to do the thigh. Here we have less than an inch, approximately an inch on the thigh. And we can measure here, we even get a more significant reading. So as we pump these readings into our system, we will then get a value, and we will create a greater ability of our machine to help the patient, as we will find out the body fat health index.